So this is a different example than the jewelry owner. This guy pays his mortgage every time on time. He saves his canceled checks. I don't think many people do that anymore, but this guy did. Nevertheless, the mortgage company counted him late by mistake. This is the mortgage company. Then he made them recognize the error, and he even went so far to notify all the credit bureaus of this error. Okay? However, they still showed up as late. So then he writes a letter of explanation to the credit bureau, encloses copies of his check. Most people wouldn't have this. He encloses copies of his canceled check, other supporting documentation. The credit bureau refuses to acknowledge his case. His name's Mr. Bell. Now he cannot refinance his house at current rates. So my point is, this is just one example of one guy in Minnesota whose name was probably Nelson, but that's what we're dealing with right now. And so I guess I'd like to just hear from you, Mr. Reingold, of what you think would be the best way to go here. If we need legislation, if Mr. Pratt's right and it's these other third parties that are coming in that are trying to fix it, and then they're not really fixing it, but they're probably a market there because there's so many problems.
I mean, I think there's a lot of answers. I think the Fair Credit Reporting Act, if enforced properly, if the CRAs were kept to the standards of actually maximum possible accuracy and there was enforcement there, I think in many ways the FCRA works. There are a couple of fixes that could be done. Like a consumer like Ms. Thomas would have the right, if the law was changed, so they can seek injunctive relief. So the court can order them to fix it. That would be a really good remedy for people. One of the, I'll leave it there, but I wanted to answer one of your other questions, which I think is really essential here. And I think what we see here, and I thought the 60 Minutes report did a really good job of it in terms of how the dispute process works. They went down to Chile and met these folks who worked in the dispute process. They had to do, what, 90 a day? The dispute process is that person, Mr. Bell, who provided all of that information. I think it's a pretty safe bet that all of that information went to the credit reporting agency, went to the dispute handler, looked at all of that information, turned it into an automated code of 3 numbers. That number got sent to the mortgage company who looked at it and said, no, that looks right to us, and sent their code number back, and that's what happened. So in terms of assuring accuracy, how do we ensure that the credit reporting agencies actually provide all of the information a consumer provides to the furnisher of that information, and simply does not rely on a furnisher who says, yeah, that's right, we'll accept it. The law requires, basically, a tie goes to the consumer under the Fair Credit Reporting Act. The way the law works right now, the way the CRAs operate, the tie does not go to the consumer, and that needs to be fixed.